In our last interaction with your partner, he gave us the indication that you have a petition before the governor. Where are you now on the resolution of the farmers' crisis?
This Iyiocha Stream Government Forest Reserve, otherwise known as Enemhinye farmland at Ugbolu. I recall that sometime in April, my partner Jude Obidi Esquire granted a press interview where he stated that we had a petition before the executive governor of Delta State, and true to that, there was a meeting on the 12th day of May 2019, you know, that was superintended by a special advisor to the governor on investment. And then one of the resolutions at that meeting was that the crops of these hapless farmers have been destroyed, but they will not be left just like that, and that there was need for them to be compensated. However, we harped on the need for relocation as well, but the government was of the view that Noseworthy should compensate the farmers. 12th of May 2019 till date is well over 2 months, and nothing has been done about that. And the farmers have just been left, you know, just to roam the streets of Ugbolu because they have nothing to fall back on as I speak with you. And then we've been waiting patiently, hoping that, you know, one of these days they will call on us. But instead they keep destroying the crops in the settlement. And this is something that, you know, we consider to be, you know, a sort of intimidation and oppression of the poor and the indigent. Because ordinarily the farmers there are, you know, largely indigent, the bulk of them in that forest reserve. And then need I say that they've been in that settlement since 1978. They've been tenants to the Ministry of Environment, especially the Department of Conservation in the Ministry of Environment have been their landlords. They pay their tributes on a yearly basis, on an annual basis. Now, we may want to look at it this way. Now, the ministry wants to treat them like tenants. A yearly tenant per se is even entitled to 6 months notice to quit. What I have before me is a notice to quit that simply said you are to ensure that the center farms are vacated and that you harvest your crops immediately. I don't know how possible that would be. It was dated on the 28th day of January 2019. The earlier letter, of course, they were backdated. The earlier one was dated 17th of September. In that one, if you look at paragraph 3, he said, in the approval of His Excellency supersedes all other approvals and permits already given. Now, paragraph 3 says, in the light of the above, you are hereby requested to harvest your crops and vacate the land immediately. Now I ask, how feasible would that be for people who have been on the land for well over 40 years? You come up one day and you say harvest your crops and leave immediately. It is not feasible, it is not tenable anywhere. It is highly and wholly unacceptable. Now, we do not want to talk about the fact that it was backdated, because it was backdated. Because only in 2017, the government approved the head farmership in that settlement. And then only to come back on the 31st of August, there's a letter to that effect that was signed by a director in the Environmental Conservation Department of the Ministry of Environment, one Dr. Egunatun. And now, barely a year after, you're asking the same persons to quit. You know, these correspondences I have before me shows that the farmers or the settlement is a legitimate one. They are recognized by the government, and then they ought to be treated fairly and then in accordance with the law. What we have now is like asking somebody to leave as if he's a squatter. People who have been on the land for 40 years, they have cash crops, they have some other crops on the land. Even this year, all their crops have been destroyed by noseworthy. Now, if we want to even talk about, yes, they are tenants. They didn't actually acquire the land, yes. Now, the Land Use Act states that if government is acquiring land for a purpose, it should be for public good. You cannot take land from citizens and then give to another citizen. It is not for public good. You're only trying to tell us that these people are going to pay more. Now we ask, where does the welfare of its citizens come to play? If you're seizing land from a citizen and giving to another citizen, it is quite unfair. Very, very unfair, and we are going to resist it.
Let's take a look at the interaction we had the last time with your partner.
But we have a petition already before the governor, Governor Iyiocha, and I would believe that he's a governor that has ears and listens to the people. He's not I don't consider this government anyway to be a repressive government. So we are calling on the executive governor of Delta State to look into this issue. We have a petition before him already, and we believe that he will do the needful by directing the ministry involved in this particular menace. The farmers are being subjected to untold hardship. This is a government that prides itself with programs in agriculture. As a matter of fact, I'm aware that this government has supported local farmers tremendously, and I don't see them also to be the one to go to the extent of subjecting these same farmers to untold hardship by depriving them of their source of livelihood. You know. We believe that the governor will listen to us, and he would treat this petition dispassionately, and then all they are asking, the people are asking, is to come to a round table with them, discuss with them, give them a reasonable period of time, say a year or thereabout, to enable them to harvest their crops, you know, and then also compensate them. They have been farming on that land since paying rents to the government since 1978. I don't think it will be fair it's to displace them just like that. I think it will be very, very unfair. Considering the fact that when you hear civil servants in Delta State going to Ubodo to go buy food stuff, particular farm fresh produce, these farmers are the ones responsible for that. You know, so I think the government should look into this matter as a matter of urgency to avert needless litigation and also to avert needless crisis that may erupt because of this. Because it's a clear case of oppression by noseworthy company or investment limited or whatever the name they call them. I think they should quickly call these farmers to a dialogue.
To quote your partner, to avoid unnecessary litigation. Knowing what you know now, are you still proceeding under that same assumption?
We want to say that we are still very much open to negotiations. We do not intend to start off a litigation that would enmesh the state in some, legal fiasco and squabbles. But we want to see that peace is done. And even as we ask for peace, we want to see that justice is seen to be manifestly done. It is not our intention ordinarily to go to court. However, we are being pushed to the wall, and we may be left with no other option but to approach the court. If you recall, my partner in his earlier interview said that there was need to avoid needless litigations. But the way it is going now, it appears we are being undermined by the government. The government called for a meeting. The government asked Noseworthy Investment Limited to compensate the farmers. Until date is over 7 weeks. There is no compensation of any sort, and we are still waiting patiently. Of course, perhaps they want to see us as dogs who just bark, but we may have to let them know that we can also bite, because we know what it takes to embark on litigations, especially against the government. This is a kind of litigation that we put the government in bad light before the people. And as such, of course, we recognize the giant strides of the governor, and we do not intend to diminish or tarnish any of his official image, as it were. So that is our take, because as it stands now, we personally, I wouldn't need to consult my partner now, because we are on it together. We'll give the government a 2 weeks ultimatum. If the farmers at Iyiocha Farm Center are not settled or compensated adequately, we may have no other option but to approach the courts. Let the courts decide. Let the courts interpret and decide on the rights of the first in time and then the person who is coming in now. Of course, a lot of this destruction has gone underground, and of course we will ensure that this is resolved. We will ensure that we sort it out.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.